Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, I'm going to address the age-old question of investing versus flipping, who wins, and I'll just give a little bit of my thoughts around it. With that, let's jump right into it. There's the thumbnail. There's what made you click. Shout out Ernesto for making these beautiful thumbnails. Um, but yeah, who wins? Investors versus flippers? It depends. The answer that nobody likes to hear. There's more nuance than just a binary answer of A or B, yes or no. Um, yeah, that's just the reality of life. Very frequently, there's more conversation needed to get to the bottom of the question at hand, and that's what this presentation's for. So, for me, what it really comes down to is you need to have one or the other. Do you have time or do you have money? Ideally, you have a lot of both, but time and money are our two most limited resources in life. Money is nice in that you can always go and get more. Time is that once that second ticks away, once that year goes by, there's no getting it back. But yeah, ideally, I mean if you're an investor or a flipper, you need to have one or the other, some amount of both. If you're very, very rich in time, I think that just naturally that lends itself well to flipping. Fairly obvious, fairly inherent there, I believe. If you're very, very rich in money and poor in time, say you have a full-time job, 6, 7 figure income, your finances are in very good situations, and I think that would lend itself better to investing naturally. If you've got a lot of money and you don't have a ton of time to actively be on eBay, be on TCG Player, be on Heritage Golden, looking for the deals, looking for the flips, looking for the plays, investing just works well with that. So if you have a lot of both, you can do as much as you'd like. You can partake in both to some extent. Doing this full time, I partake in both. I've done videos in the past. 8 months ago, I think it was, to start the year. I don't like using the I word, but it's the one everyone uses. I tend to like to use speculating more than investing for the sake of not getting into a semantics thing. Investing. When I buy an item and I sit on it long term waiting for price appreciation, that's speculating, investing, whatever you want to call it. And another thing on who is going to win, speculators or investors versus flippers, it all comes down to the fundamentals on the item at hand. Very frequently, we paint with broad brushes. We speak of the Pokemon market as if it is one singular animal, as if it is one thing that moves just completely in tandem. Pokemon is so broad, so diverse, so deep, so wide. I've been in the hobby. I've been engrossed in the hobby for 8 years, full time for one now. I know so much about it, but there's so much that I don't know about it too. So item by item, I'm going to interact with each differently. Why don't we get right into the next slide with that? Here's a quick breakdown. Here are an example of 3 items that, I mean, the middle item not being in my inventory yet, but it is on pre-order. I will have those secured upon release. Very, very big talk of the town type item, so I try to have that included. But let's go left to right. Very, very left, we have the 2014 #1 full art Pikachu trainer. One of 6 in the world that were awarded at the World Championships that year. Very, very hard item to come across. I have one of the 6, and it would be very hard to replace if and when I were to ever sell it. So an item like that I bought it 2 years ago. I've had several videos on my channel if you want to look at more in depth about why I bought it, when I bought it, more that went into the thinking on that. But I consider that a personal collection item. Every item, though, being a business, is inventory. There is a price for it. It's been up on eBay for about 180,000 or best offer. I turned down 90 from TCA Gaming. But an item like that, I consider there are plays to flip them as well. I mean, people have very publicly made plays on trophy cards, flipping them. Many successful, some not as successful. But to me, I bought that card with the intent to own it for a long time, thinking that the fundamentals were very solid. It's a high condition grade. It's a high rarity tier. I mean, it's like S tier rarity. One of 6 copies in the world for that year for that placement. Awarded. Extra copies aside. We don't know the exact situation around the potential for that. But yeah, the middle item. Middle item, I put it in the middle because honestly, my interaction with it will be a bit of both. I'm going to be getting several dozen of these at release, not quite 100, but not too far off. My intent is to immediately flip maybe half of them. If they're going for double my cost basis, or ideally even more than that, I might sell half of my allocation immediately, flip it in, so that my investment, my long-term holding, will be a cost basis of zero in some respects. So an item like that, there are the potentials for reprint waves. I don't want to turn this into the complete nuance around ultra modern in-print products, if and when reprints will come. I will do a video in the future as we near the release date on that one in particular, going very deep into why I'm holding as many as I'm going to hold, why I'm flipping as many as I'm going to flip. But yeah, an item like that, I think there's merits to selling off a certain amount for cash flow considerations, getting your overall investment on the SKU, that item in particular, down. I mean, ideally cost basis of zero, where you have your ones you're going to sit on longer term for free. Nice thing about that though, historically speaking, premium collections have done pretty well. During the mania, a lot of them really got unsustainably high and they've fallen back down. But historically speaking, pre-2020 boom, a very typical trend for an item like this would just be a slow, steady increase over the years. Slight minor fluctuations here and there, but the right item is very, very indicative and contains many of the aspects of an item that I would just play hot potato with. So I graded this back when it was $25 $25 a pack for grading. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a graded booster pack. Hidden Fates, the loose packs sell for about 15. The grading fee was 25. So I have about $40 into that slab. In nines, they sell for about 60, so still a profit. And in tens, they sell for between 120 and 180, depending on the day, depending on the artwork. To me, I am not buying these as an investment. I am not holding these as an investment. The fundamentals are very, very poor in my opinion. There are so many of these packs out there. So many more could get graded tens down the line. So yeah, we kind of have a spectrum here. We kind of have a scale. Some of the biggest flips, I mean, great opportunity there. I think it's a great collectible. And again, not getting too deep into what has been the topic of another video. I think if someone buys the Hidden Fates pack as an investment and pays the wrong price, that's a bag. They're gonna have a bad time if they're worried about future value. If they're worried about just buying a collectible they love with money they have, no concerns for future value considerations, I think it's a great item. I think the pack slabs look really cool. I don't have one next to me to show, but yeah, if you're buying it just as a consumer, there's worse places to spend 160 bucks. I mean, I've spent that on a steak dinner at a super fancy steakhouse when we went to Vegas for that event. So yeah, I have nothing to show for that. It was a delicious meal, but someone who buys this pack would have that forever. But again, being a business, there are opportunities like that, very, very plentiful. There are so many plays out there that I'm not going to be looking to have it holding in my inventory long term, but to create that inventory, to grade that pack, to grade that ultra modern card with high liquidity, great flip play as a business. So here's another angle that I wanted to show you. So as an investor, many self-dubbed investors, I think, get into a trap on not having an exit plan. So here's another card kind of analogous to the Pikachu that I showed here. When I originally bought it, my intent was this is a personal collection item for the very, very long term. Having kind of a savvy, having a fair bit of experience, being fairly savvy, I would say, in the markets, I have some kind of an expectation as to what an item, air quotes, should be worth. And again, the number one trainer, I turned down an offer of $90,000. But there is a number that would take it. I was asking Rusky for 110. He didn't get there. We didn't make the deal. But this item, when I bought it, I paid around $1,600, if I remember correctly, in late 2019, I believe it was, shortly after DC Worlds. And keeping an eye on the market, keeping an eye on all my inventory, this one to me got crazy. And if you're a successful investor, at some point you got to sell, right? A gain is only a realized gain once you realize it. You can only realize it by making a sale. So seeing that this item on PWCC went for $15,100, I immediately put mine up. And so the first sale of 15,100 on 4-27 was an auction at PWCC. I had one. I wanted a piece of that action because to me that was way overinflated. And this is where I've got the nice Benjamin Franklin quote up there. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. An investor who bought that card as I did for $1,600 would be doing great when they saw the sale happen for 15,100. But if you're not ready to act on it, I was literally, so it sold on 4/27. I sold mine on 5-2 a week later because I was ready to go. And had I not been, clearly still a great 5x from my cost basis of 1,600. But a year later now, one sold on auction for 8,700, nearly a 50% drop from the peak. So as an investor, if you're going to flip, you're already buying and selling. Selling is inherent to the terminology of flipping. So I'm not worried about flippers because they clearly must have some outlet to sell. But investors, I do worry to some extent because there's some amount of them that are buy. And when 2020 comes along, when an opportunity like this comes along in mid 2021, they're not ready to make that sale and they're not ready to realize the gains because clearly if you can sell for a 10x and then plow that money somewhere else where you see value, if you're doing the whole Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett value investing type thing, you're really going to miss out when you wait a year later. The opportunity cost of your item falling 50% and having that money tied up for a year is like a double whammy. So yeah, just a consideration I wanted to bring up on investors needing to be ready to sell if and when the times come. Some further considerations for investing versus flipping. Time horizon. Again, it comes back down to like that first slide I talked about. If you're rich in time, if your time basis, very infrequently there might be plays where you can see investing almost naturally requires a longer time frame. Some people would say you can invest in an item selling it a week later. Some people would say, oh no, that's flipping. To stay away from the semantics debate, I guess just consider your time horizon and consider your risk tolerance too. All this stuff is quite speculative. It has no tax advantages to it, as do traditional investments. Consider your financial goals and your current situation. What I mean by that is, well, partially considering my financial goals, considering my broad situation at what was going on in 2020, I sold off a lot of my stuff. I sold off a lot of my stuff because I had long-term unrealized capital gains in a lot of the items in pre-2020. So I had bought them from 2014 to 2019. When 2020 happened, everything 5-10x. So I had significantly more unrealized capital gains. I decided, hey, I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to prime myself for potentially doing this full time. I didn't when I was first selling, I didn't really think that was going to actually be the case, but yeah, that's where it then ended up going. Another thing too is like your finances and your scheduling. That's getting back to the first one even more so, because if you're very liquid, very cash rich, you might be more adept, you might be more ready to go for the investing side. If you're super busy, if you don't have the time, you do need to be careful. Again, have an outlet. Maybe have it in the eBay vault, have it in the PWCC vault, have it somewhere ready to sell. All these vaults are popping up tied to marketplaces. I think they're great as far as covering insurance, covering the carrying costs and risk. A lot of these, I don't know how temporary it is, but a lot of these vault services, they do fully insure it for you. I worry to some extent on both flippers and investors having inventory or long-term investments in their houses, in their basements, in their attics, uninsured, unprotected. Those kinds of things just have extreme risk. And yeah, another consideration is the plastic premium. That's kind of going back to an item like the first one isn't really enhanced too significantly by the plastic itself. The value of that card is you could crack it out of the slab. I mean, you're going to hurt the value some. People like the authentic, knowing that it's authentic, people like the protection. But when you crack the right item out, you lose 90% of its value instantly, just from that going from a PSA 10 pack to a raw pack, 150 down to 15. With the left card, it's going to be a value decrease, but it's not going to be as significant. So yeah, when you're looking for, that's more of a, when you're looking for, should I flip this item or should I invest in it? How much of a premium is on the plastic itself? I tend to, I mean, I've made my opinions of the plastic premium very, very well known. I like investing, speculating long term in items that are inherently valued due to their rarity, scarcity, age. I do not like paying a massive premium for plastic. I do not like paying a massive premium for perceived condition. I mean, sometimes say it's a true 10, say it's a layered rarity of condition on a already rare card. I like that more, but I still prefer to just buy cards that are by themselves more valuable to speculate on long term. And then exit strategy. Always have an exit strategy planned out in mind so that if and when prices go a bit crazy and it's time to realize gains, you're there and you're ready and you can realize the gains. Especially knowing all the implications that will bring you tax wise and everything. How that all planned out. Talk to an accountant to get all that sorted. That's really everything for today. I included this other thumbnail. I think this was an early iteration of the thumbnail for the video. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Are we flipping or are we flipping? I do have a price for everything at all times, pretty much. But there are certain items. I guess another little bit of conversation that I can add here at the end. I have a backlog. Not everyone has a backlog. If you're caught up on everything all the time, I would always have everything listed. Always have everything listed for a price you're willing to take. Know that someone can click the buy now button and it could be gone. Be prepared to have any item sell. Set it for a price you won't be upset with. And the position I've always found myself in for the 8 years that I've been in the hobby is that I am a little bit more lean on capital than I'd like to be. So I always have everything listed as much as possible, but I'm always also buying. The illiquid nature, the non-fungible nature of these items, you can buy them for such a low percentage of market. And just that, I mean, that's what flipping is about. Buying at 50% of market, selling at 90% of market or 100% of market. Investing is more, I mean, the nice thing about it too, if you invest in Apple stock, you have to pay the price that it's going for that day. There's a couple cent float between the bid ask spread. Whereas on these items, you might have a $50 to $100 range on any given item. So whether you're investing or flipping, you want to buy as low in that range as possible and sell as high in that range as possible. Investing more flipping is just interacting in that range, where investing is more buying in that range and then that range going up over time and then selling at a later point when the range has moved up. So yeah, as of today, I have 6 figures of inventory listed through Troll and Toad, through eBay, through PWCC. But the items, the closer they are on this scale to the right, the more replaceable they are. The more prone they are to the pops going up, to more coming out. Even in the middle, there's a risk of a reprint, things like that. Those items I'm listing first. The items to the left, I'm listing higher and I'm listing last. I'm not as concerned about moving an item so quickly like that. The one on the left specifically, I have had that listed for a few months. I made a video back when I listed it because an item like that, so price sensitive. If I have an item that is very, very high value, that could lead to a big liquidity event. If that ever were to sell, I try to get those listed a bit earlier. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is I list the worst items first, the ones with worst long-term prospects. I see this Hidden Fates pack facing a lot tougher fight in the future as far as price trajectory because of how many are out there and how many more could be graded. Same would be said for if you want to compare, I don't have it up here on the slides, but if you want to compare like a similar value, which is kind of scary, a PSA 10 Jungle First Edition Pikachu sells for the same or higher than many PSA 9 First Edition Jungle Hollows. The PSA 10 Jungle Pikachu is much more replicable, and the non-hollows are so much more common out there. The hollows are a bit tougher to replace, but yeah, that's all my thoughts for today on investing versus flipping. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Like, sub, affiliate link, join us in Patreon. This Sunday, we'll actually have Old Skool Pokemon on for our chat. If you want to join in on the monthly Zoom meeting, get in on the Discord, check that link below. Anyways, I appreciate you all watching, and I will catch you all later.